Hi guys, welcome to Casey Mindful. I'm Casey and I post videos every week about all things mindfulness. In this week's video, I'm talking about how to stop negative thinking and how I personally overcame my own negative self-talk. I dealt with negative self-talk for most of my life, but I have been able to overcome it only through mindfulness techniques. And so if you are interested in overcoming that jerk off in your head that tells you only mean things, then stick around. So if you're already here, you probably know what negative self-talk is, but just so we're clear, negative self-talk is when your internal dialogue, the voice in your head, is not saying not so nice things all the time. And it can appear in many different ways and forms. So it's really about identifying what your triggers are and knowing what you need to tell yourself to rewire your brain to speak more kindly to yourself and to give yourself more grace throughout the day. Because if you are constantly belittling yourself, telling yourself you're not worthy, or you're not pretty, or you're not strong, you're not a leader, you're going to believe those things. And sometimes you need to have the ability to catch the lies that you're telling yourself and to purposely and mindfully tell yourself truths. So, like I said at the beginning of the video, negative self-talk is one of my demons. I dealt with it for about 20 years, and I kind of got to a point where I thought it was just a part of my personality, like that's just how my brain was. But it's so important to realize and acknowledge that our brains are like a muscle, and you have your neurons in your head and synapses that connect them all, and when you're thinking negative shit, that's the muscle that's strongest. Those synapses are just firing back and forth all the time, and that's what your brain knows. And so overcoming this takes mindful, purposeful rewiring of your brain and re-strengthening your positivity muscle in your brain, if you will. So there's not really like a step-by-step process to this. It's really more like a cycle. And so the main aspect of this cycle is affirmations. And I know that most people have heard of affirmations. I don't know what that word means to you, but I remember being very young and my mom wanting to help. I was going through like a little depressive bout or whatever, and she was like, you need to stand in front of a mirror and tell yourself things. And I was just too immature. I felt embarrassed by it. I was like, I shouldn't have to do this. That's silly. But after studying more about mindfulness and beginning my yoga and meditation practice, affirmations are the game changer. And they're not silly. If you think they're silly, you need to grow up, because they are so powerful, and in just using them the past couple of years, I have completely retrained my brain. I no longer am cruel to myself. I don't, beat myself up about things like I used to. I am like a cheerleader for my I will never be a cheerleader but you get what I'm trying to say. I am my own cheerleader these days, and I can full-heartedly say that I love myself. So, daily affirmations are the central point of this video and for overcoming negative thoughts and negative self-talk. But again, it's more of a cycle, and so you can't just pick a random list of affirmations from the internet. I mean, some of them I guess will probably be pretty good, but it's really about noticing what you need to hear. Because what someone else needs to hear is what they need to hear. They're dealing with different things, or being cruel to themselves in other ways, possibly. And so by knowing what you need to hear, you can create your own affirmations. And another part of the cycle is to become more mindful of your triggers. And so what I mean by that is what causes you to have negative thoughts or to speak unkindly to yourself in your head. So, it could be something like looking into a mirror when you're getting ready in the morning. What are you thinking about yourself? Are you telling yourself that you are sexy and a badass, or are you being cruel and telling yourself that you're fat and you're lazy, blah blah blah, like, why do you look like this? It's so it's really personal. And another part of the cycle is beginning to notice the lies that you tell yourself. And I think that this can be the most challenging aspect of it, but it's all about growth. If you can identify just a few affirmations that you need to hear on a daily basis, start with those. And then as you progress, you will get more attuned to the lies that you are telling yourself. And it's kind of shocking almost. When I first started practicing affirmations, there were some things that I noticed I felt like an internal dissonance to. So for instance, when I first started practicing affirmations, one of my affirmations was, I'm fucking gorgeous and brilliant. But I could hear that voice in my head saying, no, you're not, whenever I would say it to myself. And so that's when you know that there's work to be done. And you have to overcome that voice. And the more you practice your affirmations, the quieter and quieter it becomes. But going back to noticing the lies you tell yourself, this is another example, I had been practicing a list of affirmations for about a year, and come to find, it's kind of a long story, but I realized my whole life I've been telling myself that I am not a leader. And I won't go into the whole background of that, it's not really that serious. But basically, by noticing that negative voice in my head that has been there for years, telling myself that you're not a leader, you're not a leader, you're not a leader, suddenly I'm like, oh wow, there's room for growth here. And at the bottom of my affirmations list, I now have one that says, I am a leader. And so that's one that I'm reworking on in my head this year. I probably sound like a crazy person, maybe, I don't know. But now that you understand that it's not like a step-by-step process and it really is more of a cycle, I invite you to explore your own mind and become more aware of the things that you need to hear so that you can be the best version of you. And I'm not going to tell you to do this every single day as soon as you get up, because I'm kind of like a free-spirited person that doesn't like structure, but you do want it to be regular. Truly, this is part of my morning routine 4 days a week. in the mornings, usually right before my meditation and my 30-minute yoga practice, I will read out my list of affirmations out loud to myself. So the last thought that I'll leave you with is that you need to know that your thoughts dictate your reality. And sometimes it's hard to recognize the lies you're telling yourself. You're like, no, if I'm ugly, I'm ugly, and that's all there is to it. But it's not so much, because it's so subjective. Everyone's realities are so different. And so you can choose to go through life believing some fucked up story about yourself, or you can choose to say, you know what? I think I'm beautiful. I think I'm awesome. I am so full of love and light. And even if you don't believe it when you first start saying it, you will eventually. And who fucking cares if someone else doesn't agree with you? It's their reality. Your reality is your own, and you deserve to own it. And that concludes this video. I really hope this helps someone out there. If anyone is interested in seeing my list of affirmations for the year, I'm happy to share it. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. And maybe if you have a favorite affirmation, post it in the comment section. I'm really interested to see if anyone uses this, or if I'm just the only weirdo. Probably not.